Sunday morning. Just waiting for some people to join in. You're watching a recording. I'm Corey Thorne, the spiritual healer, teacher, psychic medium, life coach, everything in between, and also the founder and creator of More Than Existing. I wrote the book, created the program, and lived the life. Just saying. So let me just bring up on my phone because sometimes all the comments are not seen, and this gives me an opportunity to not really miss anything, even if I'm not seeing your comments at the time. I am reading them after. Let's see. Good morning. I just want to make sure I'm up. Good morning, Wendy. I see I got a few people. I know it's Thanksgiving, and depending on time zones, people are probably having Thanksgiving lunch right now, Thanksgiving dinner right now. Good morning, Lisa. I just noticed how gray my hair is. I'm like, holy crap, I am gray. So much to be thankful for today. Yes, I think we all have so much to be thankful for. I believe that's um, it's really a good time to sit and I say, we shouldn't be always waiting for, why do we put so much focus on the days that things are going wrong instead of when things are going right? And so looking at the things that have gone right in our lives, things that have worked out for us in our lives, looking at those. Good morning. Oh, hold on. Okay. So we're just letting the room fill up a little bit. Oh, yeah. Yes. Good morning, Lisa. That's right. You have your live going on as well. I'm in here on a call, on a spontaneous thing. I've been up since 3 a.m. So I'm really not planning on being here long. Even my speech is a little bit wonky because I've been up since 3 a.m. I had to take my mom back to the airport today. She left to return to Newfoundland. And so I had to drive to Edmonton this morning or to Leduc and go to the airport. So, but I am coming in to talk a little bit about the energy of today. And today is 10:10. Today is 10:10. And actually, today or yesterday, I just realized this, was the day that I had my sleeve surgery done when I had my stomach surgery done 4 years ago. I'll be doing more, Lisa. You can come back and watch the replay, Lisa. We're meant to be on at the same time. Good love energy going everywhere this morning, Lisa. So good morning, everybody's joining. I'm just letting the room fill up a little bit before I actually start talking. And happy Thanksgiving to everybody. Today is also a 10:10 portal opening. And so this is a pretty big one. And the way everything is in alignment with all the planets and everything, it's kind of like the energy that you're only going to see, twice or something this year. I think only happens twice. And now the 10:10 only happens this once. But that energy of just feeling and sensing what this portal opening, so the opening that we're experiencing, seeing in the flow of the energy, this one is all about love. It is about the expansion of love. And first of all, is ultimately, I always get this from people often when I'm doing any of my work. Hello, everybody who's joining. Is the big thing that I get about love is like, all I want to do is be loved. All I want to do is love everybody. All I want to do is love the world. And my thing back to everybody, I'm like, do you know what love is? Do you understand love? Do you understand what love really means? And love doesn't come with assumptions. Love doesn't come with judgment. Love doesn't come with expectations on what you expect people to be for you. And most of all, is we can't really have that sense of love when we have fear around the loss or the desperation of why we're loving something, such as your work, your relationships. And so if you have this sense of always fearing the fact that something may happen in a relationship, then you're not really in love. You're not really understanding the power of love that is capable in a relationship when it's surrounded by the fear stories. And that's a happy Thanksgiving. Good morning, everybody. And that's a hard one for people to sometimes grasp. And so we use the word love very loosely. We use the energy that we use our how we incorporate it into our situations and into our stories. And the reason why I'm talking love this morning during Thanksgiving is I'm speaking this because it is a part of the 1010 portal energy. It's a part of that karmatic transformational journey that we are existing right in here right now today. And as I was driving to the airport at 3 this morning, it was still pretty dark, and myself and my mom were driving along, and all of a sudden this big meteor went right across the sky. And mom's like, and I said, "Oh my God, did you see that?" And she wasn't near as excited as I was. And I said, "Mom, my God, how could you not be excited about something like that? Like, that's just like, oh, you don't get to see that every day." I'm like, "Oh my God." And she's like, "I wonder where it's going." And I'm like, "Who cares where it's going? It was what you just got to experience." I said, "I love these moments. I love when these moments happens and they're just so out of the blue and they're so unexpected and I said, they're so spontaneous and they're so in the moment. I mean, the explosion that would have to happen for it to happen for the meteor, the where it's going to land, who cares? What matters is what's happening right here, right now, in this very moment, and what we experience together in that moment." I'm like, that's like hope. That's like faith. That's like really, truly just surrendering everything and just letting yourself be in the experience. And that's kind of what this energy is speaking of today. That's what it is. And really trusting that. And we have a lot of kind of like bobbing energy today and coming into this week of when like kind of like the moon is going nowhere, the star like the sun's going nowhere. It's like kind of where everything is going nowhere. It feels like it's nothing's happening. Now we have some Capricorny stuff coming in and we have some, that works, but it's like it's okay that it's not really sometimes going anywhere, or you're not really doing anything. Can you love the pause? Can you love the rest? Why do we feel like if we're sitting down and we're resting, we're doing nothing, we call ourselves lazy instead of loving the moment or loving the experience? Why do we bring in some sort of like lower vibrating energy into that by letting our thoughts have a creation of a not loving story or of a lot not loving experience? And so one of the key things, and I heard this once before, and it just and it has stuck with me forever, but it's like if you say you love your job, like you love your job, you love your life, you love what you're doing, you love all of that, but the reasons behind it are because of your survival. Do you actually love what you're doing? Right? And so when you go to work, say, "I love my job. I love what I do." Do you really love it? This is how programmed we are. This is how conditioned we are. This is how conditioned we live our lives. This is how we can convince ourselves of anything that we feed into that freaking mind of ours. Anything. It's amazing what we can convince ourselves of. Is, "Oh, I love my job. I love this. I love that." And it's like, but is the ultimate reason why you're going to your job is because you have to be absolute certain that you can put food on your table, that you can pay your bills, that you can stay comfortable in that life that you're living in. That's not love. So the fact that that's not how we connect love. So that is a necessity to the life that you're living. That doesn't mean it's love. That's a necessity. And so when that's your necessity, right? It's like, so if the job disappeared, if the job went tomorrow, how would you feel? If you couldn't do that job tomorrow, Would it be the fact that you didn't have the job that you loved? Or would it then the thought go to the worry of, oh my God, now how will I pay my bills? How will I take care of the things that I need to take care of? What will I do? Because is it really in the job, or is it the interaction with people that you love? Something to really think about as we're in this 10-10 of this transformation, because when we're clearing karma and cutting, releasing that cord energy, and where we leak energy and where we give ourselves, where we give out that energy, it's the fact of understanding what it is that we really do love, and what is encompassed in that love, and where is that love coming from, right? And is it the love of the job itself? Do I love going to work? If you were given the choice to choose to go be with people and knowing that all your needs were cared for, you never had to worry about money, and you never had to do anything else, but you could go to the ideal place, right? And you could get in that ideal place. Because what I'm bringing forth for you is to become consciously aware of our language, of how we connect to even the words that we use, without assuming, without assumption, because it's the assumption that is affecting our lives, right? And so it's that we assume these things. So when you assume and attach love to one thing, you assume and attach that same kind of love, that same kind of energy frequency to everything else. And because the everyday human don't work in frequencies, because the everyday human don't really look at the world as anything more than this one person that you are. But that's where that conversation that I'm having about spiritual depression is coming in. And so the work that I'm doing now in the language and the conversations I'm having around spiritual depression is ultimately what happened to me prior to and during the process of creating More Than Existing. And it wasn't that I had a depression. It wasn't that there was something really wrong, is that I depleted all of my energy, and the things that I thought I loved, once I could sit with myself and realize, well, they were all just part of the program. They were just part of the systematic, routined life that we live. We live so routined. We live so, right? We live so connected to that energy. And we don't really realize the power of what is happening to us sometimes, because we believe what we tell ourselves. We create the stories. Our imagination becomes that reality, and we turn it into. So wherever we are, it becomes. I gotta stop and take a sip of coffee and read some comments. Hello, everyone who's joining in. Happy Thanksgiving. Jaden, I love my job, but the people I work with make it hard to continue to love it. Okay, that's something that when we change the perspective around it, what am I allowing to affect me, right? What am I allowing when I'm in the presence of that energy? What am I allowing? So what inside of me, right? And that's where mirror reflection come in. So in the book More Than Existing, in my book, Jaden, I speak about eyes, and I'm like, through the eyes of my so-called enemy, I could see me. So through the eyes of everyone, or through the reflection of somebody else's actions, behaviors, their energy, if they're angry, if they're always angry, frustrated, and you find it affecting you. And I'm like, and we can't blame it all on being empaths, right? What is it what's existing within me that I am triggered, and I'm responding and reacting to that energy, right? And through that so-called enemy, I could see me. I could see where in my life, the same thing that I hated so much about other people's actions and behaviors, I obviously was doing myself, whether it was going out to other people or it was coming into me, whether I was doing it to myself or I was handing out to other people. I I was the one that was doing that. So that love-hate story that we feed ourselves and we give ourselves is sometimes we have to really look at it in a much more expansive way without bullying ourselves, without judgment, without criticism, without all those things. Because if we are all of oneness, we all have something within us that makes us the same. We've all come from the same place. So we all have come with that unconditional love, and we came as one energy. So we're all of that one. What divides us and separates us is the programming, it's the stories, it's the conditioning, it's the beliefs, and it's what we allow or how we assume each other's words, how we assume each other's language, how we assume how everyone communicates with each other. And because it doesn't fit in with my language or how I would speak or how I feel, or if I'm so, then I'm being affected by something outside of myself, but I'm making assumptions about what is the energy behind that because it is feeding and fueling to an energy that's inside of you. And I hope that helps some way, Jaden, but it really will help you in helping yourself through some of the things that when you look at it differently, you start to realize, God, that almost sounds like ridiculous to me. And so then you're like, you can almost kind of like, just like, yeah, I reject that to be my truth. And I'm not going to let that inside. Like, I'm really going to, yeah, I don't want to be that. And I don't want that. And then you also start to realize, then you start to get projected more towards things that are actually in the alignment to what that love energy really means. Love is frequency. I didn't really understand that at first. I'm not going to lie. I started saying my gratitude prayers in the sky every day. I get this like energy all over my body, right? And like feeling the energy and frequency, gratitude. Then I say love and energy was even stronger moment for me. Yes, and so love is so deep, and love has many different ways of appearing and of being shown, but love has this sense of a feeling, not an emotional attachment. And that's what you have to remember. Love as a feeling in the body and not an emotional attachment. The moment you give an emotional attachment to love, including what you think somebody else should be for you to make you happy, is that none of that is love. Love does not have love doesn't have an emotional attachment. And the word love is just a word. Our actions, our behaviors, and those type of things that show up. So people have different love language, right? And so it's the same thing with when you look at love, is like, so if you want the world to be more loving, if you want to walk into a more loving life, you first have to come into a deeper understanding of love. You have to come into knowing you on a deeper level, and you have to start with the relationship with you, because we tell ourselves a lot of stories. With my job, I love the public, I love the communication and seeing people. I like my job, but it's not always fun, sadly. Yes. And so the way you could really, really when you want to look at it in a different way, I always say, I get enjoyment. I feel fulfilled. I feel this sense of fulfillment when I go out and I work with public. And so there's a whole lot of the work that I do that just because you love it, it doesn't mean that's where I have to be my whole life. And it doesn't mean that that's how you have to be defined. And it doesn't mean that that's what your call will be, or the whole outcome of your life should be. Because what we think we love and what we get hold on to also has the ability to put us back into comfort zones. And so because of that love, that story of love, that subconscious story of love that we have, we make ourselves comfortable. And then when everything else is really uncomfortable in our lives, or we're living in fear in our lives, or we're worried about the next day, or worried about what people are doing or what people think, or all of those other things, or if your body is hurting doing what you do, then and you've told yourself that it's love, then you don't know love, right? And so I loved my other job, apparently, is what I used to say. I loved hairdressing. I loved that part. But in the meantime, my whole body was crippling, falling apart, broken, working 15 hours a day. So here was the truth. I was a workaholic, depleted, tired, very creative, very artistic, with great abilities, with who was so fulfilled with the ability to be with a lot of people all the time. It filled up my time. It gave me the opportunity to avoid the rest of my life, and then the rest of so I was avoiding life. I was avoiding the other parts of my life. I was using all of my creative abilities in an area that was providing a income for me. Um, I made friends, and a lot of the people that I met were only friends as long as you were of service to them. Um, Now, I did meet some really good friends who are lifelong friends, don't get me wrong, but these are things that when you start to go deeper into it, is really looking at what am I holding to, and what am I holding hostage due to my love story that I tell myself? What am I holding hostage? What am I holding hostage, right? What have I entrapped in my love story that when I come to understand love, and that could be some sort of karma, some sort of constant repeat in our lives, something that we keep grabbing onto, holding onto, keep getting deeper and deeper into, and you're in pain, you're hurting, right? And so those things affect our lives. The mirror wall, yeah, I say like mirror, mirror on the wall, right? So in one of my writings I just finished, I'm like, and that goes with one of the pictures that I have for Instagram. I'm like, I broke the freaking mirror and I let the mirror go to sand, right? It's like I turned it to the ashes and I broke the mirror, because when you're looking in the mirror and you're judging and you're criticizing, all you're doing is you're looking into the rear view mirror of the past. That's all we're doing, is you're looking into the rear view mirror of the past. When you look into the mirror and you look deep enough and you feel a tear come down your eye, and you feel this feeling inside of you like you actually matter, like you can, like you just got that drive, and everything in you keeps pulling you closer and closer to that mirror, and there's no words, there is no words, and you feel yourself coming in more and more, and you're like, where were you? Where have you been? How come? Why did I put you on the back burner? Why did I think you weren't enough for this world? When you can feel that feeling, not have to, it's like when that is the feeling, now you're understanding love. And then we build a life around that sense of what's encompassed in that love. Anything that depletes us and exhausts us and tires us out, we may have an enjoyment that's in there, but enjoyment and love is not the same energy. So Jaden, when we say we're holding on to that negative energy, sometimes that us grabbing onto that negative energy, what it's doing when you're grabbing onto that negative energy is that it gives you the fuel to be able to stay in whatever feeling you're in. That's what it does. I grab onto it. I'm like a sponge. I can feel it. No, it's serving a need for you. And that's, kick ass is my job. It's serving a need for you. It is doing something that lets you be able to hold on to a story. Who are we with no story? Who would we be with no story to tell, no one to blame, nothing to blame, nowhere to run to, no pat, nothing to keep clinging to that way? Who would we be? And there's so much of who we are that's defined by that. This brings us back to our intuition. Exactly, Brenda, from the intuition coaching class. Rena, I love my job. It doesn't feel like work. I enjoy going every day, but it leaves me in a financial insecurity. So there, right? So Raina, so there it is. So I enjoy going, but it leaves me in financial insecurity. So right there, grab onto that, right? So you enjoy the job, you enjoy the people, but if it surrounds you and it banks more fear, if it banks more insecurity, right? If we're banking more of everything we don't want. So it's being able to, what is it that I really, what do I love more? Do I love a positive, do I love just being there for everyone else, or and feeling like I'm empty, or knowing full well that I'm empty, or do I have to find a way to create more balance? Oh, Mary, happy birthday. A 10-10, Mary, you're a 10-10 day. You're this portal energy. Look at you go. Happy birthday. Okay, Natasha, I'm going to have to tell the donkey story. I'm going to tell the donkey story. Hold on. Oh, thank you, Wendy. Oh my God, has mom in meditation releasing the hate of the sound of my voice. Yes, Tyler. So if I don't know if you were following my work back then, that was actually a big thing for me, Tyler. Was I write about it, I think in my second book. In the book that's my second book is in editing. For people who are wondering, my second book is now in editing. We are working on the second book and it's called Beyond the Truth Beyond the Reflection. And so the truth beyond the reflection speaks a lot about the woman on the other side of this screen that's looking at you. The woman who was separated from, I could put that face, I can come out into the world, I can be anything. But it was the sound of my own voice was something that I really truly struggled with. And what I realized with the sound of my voice also came with a lot of daggers, a lot of judgment, especially when I moved provinces and when I would hear people, when people would make fun of you. And the first thing that would come out of people's mouths was a comment about my voice, and people would assume that I wasn't good enough, or I was uneducated, or that I was, because of my voice, but more than that, because when I developed this neurological condition that I have, is that I've lost a lot of my language. So a lot of the vocabulary that I had, I can't use. It doesn't come out. I can't pronounce it, and I know it in my head, but it's with the delay that I have in my speech, I'm unable to commute it out into words. And so being able to find my way around that for a long time, I stopped talking. And for a long time, I felt like I would just have to kind of settle for a life. And then I just kind of said, fuck it. And I'm speaking regardless. So I'm guided, and I'm in my call, and so that energy and that voice really truly was connecting to that, being called girly or sound gay or too feminine, like why you talk like that. I don't mean it's just me, right? Yes, exactly. It's that sound of our voice, and our voice is a gift, right? The fact that we have this voice and the ability to be able to use our voice is a great gift, and it's a blessing, and not everybody gets to have a voice. Some people can't speak at all. And as I found myself, of course, losing some more of my voice in different ways and working on healing that part of my voice, is that I found the power of protection, but I also found the power of silence and going silent and not having to respond and react to everything, and also removing that dagger energy of people's behavior. And I would say not everybody's here to be awake and aware, and not everybody is conscious of their actions, but I also am not taking responsibility for somebody else's bad behavior, because the fact that somebody else thought that it was okay, or the fact that somebody else thinks that it's okay or acceptable to mimic and mock my accent or my voice, Or I just remember in a previous relationship where I would speak a whole conversation about something and then they go, I haven't got a fucking clue what you just said. You're just nothing but gibbers. It don't make fucking sense. And I would get that angry and I would just go silent. Now in the meantime, that was supposed to be something that was supposed to be a loving relationship. And if that was love, who knowing full well that there was a possibility of me, being crippled by a neurological condition, if that was love, why would somebody belittle me like that? Right? And so finding that voice and finding that strength is truly in knowing that who we are is more than enough. We don't have to keep trying to create anything. You don't have to try to be anything. Just be you. First of all, you have to rediscover who you are, because who you are is clothed in everything you have been programmed, conditioned, thought to be, the rebel, the rebellion, the everything, to define yourself or to matter or to be something. And when you strip it all down and you take it all away and you're raw and you're vulnerable and you're naked, right? When you're naked of everything, no identity, undefinable, right? All of those things. Now you're getting to a truth of what you are. That's what love is. You're that, uncovered, unmasked. My voice is powerful. I love my voice, right? Thank you, saying, forgive me my voice, right? And exactly. And you do, right? It's like when you step into it, I mean, I'm a channel. And so that voice, that blessing that we're bestowed and given is such an honor. And when we learn to honor ourselves, we learn to honor others. Okay. So I do have some cards for us to go with this today. And for anyone who's unsure of some of the stuff that I speak of, this is my book, Something Else. And this is something else you have rarely ever seen me promote. You barely see me talk about, because I also started to apologize. I started to apologize for who I was becoming, for the work that I do. And I just felt that I should step back and be more humble, or to hide away, but this is my book. This is one of my books, and I've written 5 books over the past 3 years. I've written 5 books and created a deck of oracle cards. And of course, nothing gets done all alone. There's guidance, there's assistance from up there, from on earth, from people who believe in me sometimes more than I believed in myself. And so this is more than existing. And this book, what I've come to learn and find out was that I even almost got robbed of this in a way, because the pages got shrunk together and the lettering got put close together, and there's supposed to be way more pages in the book. And to kind of, I guess, cheap out on printing, is that the book never got put into its full form. So there's all kinds of little things that happens in life, but the perfectionist in me was coming back to life. And what I realized was this was a blessing. So I give thanks to these books. I give thanks for what I do. I give thanks for my work. And more than existing, it's like not everyone has a published book. And so honoring that part of your journey. And so more than existing is the journey of healing. And it's through the eyes of life and looking back through, and ownership and responsibilities it starts with us being honest with ourselves. And when you can revisit all the previous relationships and look in, we're looking for books for book club for my group. Found it. There you go. Right. And it's channel. You can read it 100 times. You'll never hear the same story twice. And so thanks, Destiny. And so it starts with, on the back of the book, it gives you this. I have found the key. I have been given the key. I am done. I am discovering happiness and joy no matter the cost. I am the essence of my existence and the cause of my continued issues. I am responsible and accountable for my life as I know it to be today. And anything happening within me, I am now allowing. I am making a choice to ignore and neglect the truth I don't want to face. What happens if I am to face a truth that I then have to live with? I guess we will have to see. Will I be brave enough to stand tall in the light and to be seen as my raw, real, and vulnerable true self? As I show myself mercy and step out of the protective armor I had worn for so many years, will I truly be able to walk out and be free? Free from my own bondage of the illusions of my truth, the stories and lies that held me captive for so long, more than existing. This is the journey of choosing to more than just exist. And we don't realize how programmed we are, or how many, all of our life, everything is a half-assed truth, right? And so when we can just accept the world to be half-assed, and that there's a possibility I could be wrong, and when we could have when there's a possibility I could be wrong, well, there's a possibility for me now to learn. There's an opportunity, and that healthy perspective to be able to come to that middle road and to look at everything from that place gives you the opportunity to really look in at life. And so, yeah. The plug. my my brave is big. My courageous is even bigger, because I always say brave is to be able to walk out with the people, walk out with the crowd, walk out with your armor, your swords, whatever. Courage is the ability to be able to take off the armor, drop the guard, drop the weapons, drop everything, and walk forward and say, there has to be a better way. To not be at war, to not be creating enemies in ourselves or out in the world, to just know. And so this book, of course, didn't come without assistance. And you all see Lisa Richard in here, who owns Loving Energy Recharge. She helped in the editing. She's the editor of the book. So she helped in the editing department. And we both struggled because, number one, I wasn't a writer. Number two, she wasn't an editor. And here we were writing books. And I never thought in a million years. But if I had to hold on to I'm only this or I'm only that, and I love what I do, I don't have time to write this story. And the call was called so big inside of me that I just would not have. And the title of the book was written down 12, 13 years ago. I wrote down the title, and it was in the middle of listening to somebody yell and scream at me. And I just said, I am fucking done. I am finding a life of more than just existing, and I am going to more than exist. And that's where the courage began. And that's where the journey begins. And so I stopped trying to be everything for everyone else, even on my lives, even wherever I am. I don't do things to be liked or to be loved. I do things to meet the call, what the guardians, what the guides, what God consciousness asks of me. And when they tell me to show up, I show up. I do what is here to be done. And, the world needs more love right now. And the sense of, so this book is a huge book about forgiveness. It's about forgetting and forgiveness and not having to forget, but really truly looking through the eyes of how old you were in each of the experience. And I talk about often about, my mom's a big part of this book. And I said, when I changed my view of looking at my mother as my mom, and I gave her the name Angela. And then I talked about everything, and I speak about how I work with women and men all the time. And I say, you all have a past, and I have such compassion for where people have been and about their mistakes and about their mishaps or the things they didn't know they did. And then when I stopped and looked, and I'm like, oh my God, I'm like having a tantrum because my mother is unable to live the life that I think she should live. And I'm judging her, and I'm so hard on her. But in the meantime, I'm there for other women. Who am I? And what am I? And why do I do that? Because see, there's the love story. I loved her so much, I wanted her to live a different life. If I loved her if I understood love correctly at the time, I would have accepted that she was on her journey and that I would have to be there, not to be a sponge, not to be a punching bag, to know my boundaries, to know my energy, but to also not add more pain to the pain she already had. She already knew everything she was doing. She already knew everything that was happening in her life. She did not believe in herself and her worth enough to get out of it. So I changed the story, not her. And when I changed, I rose, she chose to do some rising. And then she has gone through the More Than Existing program. And she's still on her journey, and I'm still on mine. But the difference is now we are two grown women in a we are two grown women who are in relationship with each other as women. And the fact that she gave birth to me is the fact that I honor who she is as the woman, as the mother to me in that role. But I honor her because through her eyes, I can see my own bullshit. I can see where I wasn't always perfect. And I can see where I wasn't always the best person in the world. And that's the things you have to remember. Because unless you're able to walk on that water without falling, none of us have perfected it. And that's a truth. And so that's More Than Existing. And the second book is Beyond a Reflection. And that truly steps into that whole stuff of saying, there's a lot of things that wasn't okay, including behaviors of others, including, it's like you can honor yourself and know who you are without you don't have to beat somebody else down to be you. And if somebody else is beating you down to make themselves look better, or belittling you, or judging you, or criticizing you to make themselves look better, that's not really making them look better. That's showing attitude. Everything we suppress, everything we keep hiding and pushing down, that turns into attitude. And your attitude is always showing. Always. Sharon. Love that. I'm fucking done. Had this conversation with my son. Yes, right. And so when you say it, that's a strong conviction, right? And that's right. You're hearing your higher self, and that's exactly what you're hearing. Now you got to stay in it, right? But it's the hard shit that goes with it. We got to do the hard stuff. Hitting my soul, right? And so it's to not punish, and it's not our job. It's not our right. Oh shit, the mother-daughter journey, hardest work I've been doing since More Than Existing. Yes, and so when you look at change the mother-daughter story, and you look at it differently, is everything that you would have witnessed, experienced, or the father-son, or the mother-son, whatever it is, everything that you would have experienced, through the eyes of the age you were, you have to timestamp it. You have to timestamp it to the time that you experienced it, the time that you were in at the time. And it's so important, because if you were 3, you're only knowing the capacity of a 3-year-old to feel it. And so you still have emotional reactions and responses when triggered that still acts like the 3-year-old. And you're still telling the story of a 3-year-old. Right. And so through the eyes of now, it's like the kindergarten. It's like the kids that go to kindergarten and they tell their teacher everything that happens at home. If the teacher believed everything that happened at home, the teacher might be phoning social services on every single parent every single day, because kids will tell anything. My mom was so mean to me today. Why was your mom so mean to you today? Well, because you wouldn't buy me something in the store. So now if all you got out of that was mom was mean to me, and and that's all you held on to for the rest of your life, is mom was mean to me because mom didn't give me the attention that she was supposed to give me. Mom didn't buy me what I wanted. Mom didn't do what I wanted. I needed a hug and I didn't get the hug. Okay. So if that was always your story, when you look back and you give the woman a name, now what else was that woman doing? What else was that woman doing? Where was her time going? What was she investing her time? She was probably trying to make sure that you had food on the table. She was probably trying to take care of 2 or 3 other children. Then look at her age. And my mother was only 20 when she gave birth to me. So a 20-year-old, she was only 38 when I graduated high school. I'm, at 33 years old, at 30 years old, I was still freaking single. By 32, 33, I had 4 ex-common laws, 4 shitty ass relationships. By the time she was that age, she pretty much almost had her kids raised, right? And so when you look at life and perspectives and how you view it, is that's what I talk about the crossroads. When you change your perspective, when you stop assuming what words and language means, or how people feel about or project that energy, or what their version of love is, or what their version of care is, or what their version of a story is, when you can get the whole picture, it's amazing how many things in your life change. It will change your life, but you have to turn it into the healthy habit, because our vices are all the things that we never know is unhealthy, because we just exist in it. We just live in it. So it's amazing how many things are unhealthy habits. And that's where my vices and virtues teachings come in. So glad that's helping you, Sharon. I'm godsmacked hearing this from you. Everything I've just said, you were saying. See, nothing happens by accident. Nothing happens by accident. Thank you, Regina. I'm trying to come back. I'm trying to do things, but I'm also trying to really honor my time, how much time I have to give, how much time I have to invest, and where I have time, what energy I have to give to things. Don't make assumptions. Yep. And that's so often what I do is when I'm working with people, I'll say, well, can you tell me what you mean by that? And you would not believe when I ask it in like friends or family, I'm like, what do you mean? What do you mean by that statement or by that story? And almost like people get offensive. Thank you, Tyler. So it's almost like people become very offensive. They get like, well, I just told you what I mean. I'm like, no, you told me the sentence, but I appreciate and honor you so much. I don't want to assume what you're saying. I don't want to give it my own energy. I don't want to give it an emotional attachment. I don't want to assume that that's what you think or that's what you mean by it. So if you can, when you expand on it, when you can tell me what it means for you, then there's a difference. It is the same thing as adding your own energy to a text. If you get a text that says fine, and it's FINE, fine, guaranteed you will give it a whole body reaction, a whole emotional attachment, and then you'll say to someone else, I can't believe all they said was fine, right? And we go, fine, fine, or fine. Screw them. And then you send back that whole emotional diarrhea of language comes out, because for some reason the word fine triggered you. And that's where Lisa Starr Francis comes in, and her work, and the word alchemist. And so that's where she comes in. And she's helped me a lot through my writings, my work, and I worked on faith. One of my biggest trigger words was I. Because if I would say I want to do something, it would be like, well, who do you think you are? You're selfish. So I and selfish were connected. And so I incorporate we, because me and channel are always working together. But when I would write affirmations, and I say, I hate affirmations, frickin' hate affirmations. And it would often be because they would have to have an I in them. I am abundant, because behind I am abundant, I would have, well, that's pretty freaking selfish of you. Can't believe, right? Blah, blah, blah. And so the chatter of old language in the subconscious mind that you would have heard somewhere else, that now is stored in the body and in the mind, really truly then comes back in. So when I connect, when I uncharged I start to make the change, right? And that's when everything started to change for me. You're writing a book too? That's so cool. See, nothing happens by accident. Yeah. So I I have all of my, except for my one book is not fully finished yet because it's filled with stories. And so that one is not finished, but all the other books are now completed on my end, except for the book that goes with the cards. So the card that we pulled out, and these are my deck of Oracle cards, which I said they were coming out in 2021, and my palm reading guy from Australia, he said, those cards are not coming out till 2022. And I'm like, no effing way. I've been working on these things for 3 freaking years. He says, until you and the cards are fully in alignment, those cards are not coming out. And they are now, this is now being changed. The cover, there's some names being changed. Like there's so many things that have evolved during the cards because I'm the cards, right? So they are called the Everyday Goddess Oracle cards. And so this is creating the creator of worlds. This is the Enchanted Alchemist. This is the card that came out. And that whole sense of the alchemy of our lives. And when we learn to become the master of our lives and start to master our lives, what mastering our lives is healing. It's evolution. It's evolving. It's growing beyond everything that we limit ourselves. So when we set those intentions and those goals for ourselves, sometimes you don't really realize is that you're actually imprisoning yourself on a that you're imprisoning yourself even on a deeper level again. Because what you're doing is you're limiting yourself that I just want to be this. All I want to be is this in my lifetime. And when you do that, we have a capped possibilities for us that we think we're capable of. But what is capable? You know, how if the world is infinite and it's unlimited, then why do we limit ourselves? Right? And so there's that limiting statements that we put in and that we get so stuck in. Yeah, and so for me, like I statements are, there's the power of I and there's the power of I am. And so I statements really mean nothing unless you understand the power of I am. And the power of I am comes with the power of the Saint Germain energy. It comes with the power that we're greater than the versions that we tell ourselves. We're greater than this. We're more than that. There's so much more that is to us. There's so much more that exists within us. And that there's just such an expansive version of us. And to be able to just say, you know what, whatever is of my highest good. Do you have the courage to say, I surrender it all? And do you have the courage to trust the highest good? You need to uncharge abundance. Yes. So get in with Lisa and get working on that one. And then our other card that just came flying out was the Master Manipulator. And so, yeah, I've been at this for 20 years. 20 years? Master Manipulator. And the Master Manipulator is, and you can see the drooping hearts and the yellow flowers, and you can see her head is in the cloud. You can see how she's like kind of to one side. It's like she says she's rooted and grounded, but she's leaning to one side. So there's a lean in her. And so she is in the upright. She is in the upright position. She's standing. So she is an inspiration. And she's inspiring about the need to be the martyr. She's inspiring about, you know, she's talking about the need to be the martyr, the bleeding heart, the need to be needed all the time. And when we keep continually feeling the need to be needed, or trying to be the martyr, or trying to be the savior of everyone else, trying to be the shining star in everybody's lives, is that you lose you. And your head gets really stuck in stories, and you go up and above everything else that you lose within you. And so when we say, oh, I love, you know, see, there you go, Lindsay, right? And so you've been, you know, it's like, oh, but everybody needs me. And so when you show up in place and you're like, I'm always the first one there. No one else ever helps out. It's only ever me. I'm only ever there. What you're saying to everyone else is never even mind coming because I got this and I'm the one who, you know, it's in making yourself feel better, you're actually belittling other people. You're judging other people and you're criticizing. And so that is actually, there's a whole complex called martyr complex. And that comes from the trauma response of wanting to be valued, wanting to be somebody, wanting to be important, all of that lays out. And so that bleeding heart, that's just like, oh my God, I got to drop everything. So if you can't feed your family, but you take everything and you give away, and then you say, oh, but I just gave everything away. But you took away so that you're praised in public. But what you do behind closed doors matters the most. What you do when nobody is looking is what matters the most. How you treat yourself, how you treat your home, your personal life, this temple, this body, all of this matters the most. Because that's the things, because when you say you're this to the outside world and you're not that to the inside world, you're in your suffering, your fears. And that's all written. It's all written, right? It's all there. And it's like, you don't have to be anyone else. Who you are is more than enough. Be that person and live in that energy. Be your truth. And so one last card, because we are really in that energy. And like I said, it's like it just cracks me up. It still blows my mind how, sometimes when I look at life and I look at where I was, and when I'm out there and I'm giving everybody everything that they want, and I'm showing up, and it could be 10 o'clock at night, and you come in, you do a live, and you lay it all out on a table, and you give all of your readings, and you give it all away, the place fills up. But when you're giving something that people have to sit, pause, and really listen to, it's not there. Because that's the part, the master manipulator, is people want instant gratification. They want to be fixed now. They want to be saved now. They want this problem solved right now. But nothing gets solved if you don't rise yourself up and out of the problem. Nothing. Nothing will get fixed if you are in the problem. You can never find solutions in the problem. You will never be in a better place. You'll never be in a better place if you're going to keep dragging the past with you. Like it just never can be. Last card, and this so perfectly fits with 1010, transformation. So releasing the old energy, moving away from that old energy, is the beautiful transformation. It is a Mara, and she's walked through her fire. She's walked through it all. She's been through it all. And the backfire of this could also be a sunrise or a sunset. However you choose to see it. She is an inspiration. She is upright. She's in that place of just awareness and knowing. She's in her mother energy. She's in full bloom. She's not elder. She's not in crone energy. She has not made it to the crone energy. She has not evolved to that, but she's aware. And so she knows she has a stepping stone. She knows she can walk up and out. She knows she can climb up. She's looking at she's looking in at her world. She's looking in at her life. And she just knows, I don't have to rush past this process. I don't have to rush to get to the end. The only thing at the very end is the end of this human life. That's it. Right? It's like you only got this one lifetime right here, right now. And so there's so much to be embraced. There's so much to be thankful for. There's so much to be honored. There's so much to be given to us by allowing ourselves to stay in this moment. Don't rush. It's not a race. Life is not a race. And it's like I always say, I'm in competition with nothing or nobody. I'm not in a race, but I am definitely in this for me. I started this journey for me. I started it to save myself from my own personal hell. And I was so determined to create some sort of peace in my life, some sort of heaven. And so that enjoyment and is, if you rush past this step of the process, you will be right back into something back here, because there is so much to be done. There's so much to be enjoyed and so much to be embodied in this experience. So allowing yourself to just know that that's just giving yourself permission opens a gateway. giving yourself permission to rest, to be present, to be here, opens up a gateway, an opportunity for you to fully embrace you, to be present with you, to be here with you. And so as I'm traveling my journey after 20 years, is I may be well beyond more than existing. I'm obviously way beyond this because I just finished writing the last book of the series of this. But just knowing that I honor these experiences, moments, and I keep checking back in and doing what we do and being who we are really truly is about coming into a deeper understanding, awareness, a truth, understanding the power of having the courage and to be real, to be raw, to be vulnerable, and be present. Be present because tomorrow will come. But if your past and your tomorrows are already in your today, everything will just blend together. And I hope in some way that this helps you be able to come into that place of freedom, of setting yourself free of where we've been, releasing and letting go of some of the old stories, the old karma, and not feeling so tied and bonded to that thought or that limited belief. Because what if that's limiting to what else can be possible? Let yourself let yourself fall into that portal energy, into the place of the unknown, and just, not to know that we're never fully in the dark. There's always a light in the dark. And I hope those cards helped you. I hope this helped you in some way. Thank you for being here. And I just want to finish up with a couple little comments. Right, finally getting it. Well, I will be 51. I will be 51 April Fool's Day. So for 50 years of my life, it's that journey that we take, and it's never too late to, it's never too late to learn. It's never too late to say, I don't know. And I live by, I don't know. And, to be a channel to the divine, to the guardians is an absolute blessing to me. And I'm honored. And I've been in the place of the angels and of God. I've been there. I know what it's like. I've had several dark night of soul journeys, and I've died. I swear I've died 3 times. And I just know that the depths of, I know how big our world is, and it's much bigger than us. We're actually specks of sand, but we're valuable we're valuable specks of sand. And put us all together, then we are the everyday people, and we matter a lot. You are all so very, very, very welcome. And thank you. Thank you for spending some of your Thanksgiving with me. Thank you for staying with me. Thank you for always being here. And yes, and my book is Amazon.ca, Amazon.com, Balboa Press. If you go to my website, CoreyThorne.com, you can see all the information. And I also got my spiritual depression coaching program coming up. My coaching 4-week class that I'm doing, coaching healing. And then I also got a new mystical realm coming out. So there's a new mystical realm that's also launched. It's called the Winged Ones. And so that's a two class thing that's coming up. What else? Oh, the Power of Prayer. The Power of Prayer is on sale right now for 50% off. And it's a pre-recorded one. But I love the Power of Prayer so much. It's 7 prayers released every Sunday, and you do that prayer for every week. And at the end, then you write your own prayer. And it's understanding what power of prayer really means. And so I always say, I highly suggest taking the Power of Prayer, because it's one of the most amazing journeys that I've taken in my life. So as the mystic that I am, and the prophetess that I get to live as, I'm blessed to be able to sit in that power every single day. So yes, thank you, Lindsay. Lindsay says the power of prayer is phenomenal. So, and it really, really is. But you can go into CoreyThorne.com, or you can go into More Than Existing, Academy of Higher Consciousness, all kinds of stuff in there. So thank you. Thank you for being with me. Much love. Have a beautiful Thanksgiving, and I will see you all soon. Bye-bye.